You know, I was in the garden this morning. We were picking these blueberries. They're really good. Up just dropped one. They're really good. They're really sweet. They're a lot of fun to pick, a lot of fun to freeze, a lot of fun to eat all year. And then I also went out just a while ago and picked these. These are blackberries. Now they're also beautiful. We have thornless blackberries, so you don't get what do you call it when a thorn thorns you? You don't get stuck when you're picking the blackberries. They're beautiful. They're large, and they just hold out a promise they're going to be very sweet. They are not. They are very sour. You know, the same thing can be true with people. In Matthew 7 verse 15, it says, beware of false prophets. Because outwardly, they have on sheep's clothing, but inwardly, they're ravening wolves. You got to be careful of the outside. You know, when I was back in the university, I had not read the Bible. But when I started reading the Bible, and I read Judges 14 verse 3, it's Samson saying, get her for me, she pleaseth me well. Now what is it about her that pleased Samson? Well, we know what it was, right? It was the shape of her legs, the shape of her body, the placement, the position, the size of the physical structure. Samson was just blind when it comes to the inward heart. I remember when I was in Brazil, ugliest fruit in the country. It's called a passion fruit, and it's kind of wrinkled up when it was ripe. It's wrinkled up, yellow and gold, and it's an ugly looking thing. But when you cut it in two, you open it up with a spoon, you can eat it. That is one of the sweetest fruits I've ever had in my life. It just is an object lesson that when you see something, the outside, it may give you a promise of something on the inside, but it doesn't deliver. My wife and I spent some years in the Philippines and the Southeast Asia. We worked in China and Hong Kong and different places. I remember, you know, what stands out in my mind, we had a school in Manila. A young man came with a guitar over his back, and his face was disfigured. And I don't know if that was an accident or he was born that way, but his face was disfigured. And at first glance, he looked kind of, I wouldn't say he was outwardly beautiful. But after a week or two of interaction and fellowship, he would be singing in the morning, singing these nice hymns, these reformer songs and everything. And he developed a beauty of character that would shine forth through the features on his face. And all of a sudden, that was a handsome man. Handsome is as handsome does, is the old saying. And it was just a beauty that shines out of the soul. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And the Bible cautions us in 2 Corinthians 4:18, we look not at the things which are seen. And it tells you why. Because the things we see, it's all temporary. We look at the unseen. Why? Because the things you can't see, they are the eternal. Nothing will go from this world to the next that can be seen. The only thing we take with us from planet Earth to the heavenly kingdom is our character. And you can't see that. There was a lady that really helped us to get a lesson on this. Her name was May the 4th. And guess what? She was born when? Yeah, May the 4th. We were sitting on a bus with her, my wife and I, and she was saying, you know, here in the Philippines, a lot of poverty, a lot of hardship. And she said, you notice I laugh a lot. And we said, yeah, we notice you're always very happy, right? A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, Proverbs 17:22. You're always happy. And she said, do you ever wonder why? I said, yeah, tell us why you're always smiling and laughing. And she said, I have a choice. I can look at the seen or I can look at the unseen. And I choose to look at the unseen. And this is how you can find joy even in a world that is filled with jeopardy. So these are some of the lessons I've been learning. I didn't learn any of that in the university. It was all focused on the outside. There was a lady, I was working in Yanji, China. Half of her face was paralyzed. I think the surgeon did surgery on her face, clipped an optic nerve, facial nerve, and lost control over half of her face. So when she would smile, half her face would smile and the other half would stay paralyzed. And it was interesting as you would talk with her. Now this lady was part of a group, a Chinese group, and it wasn't a Christian forum. I think most were atheist. Kind, gentle-hearted people, but they weren't the Christian perspective and background wasn't there. But as we talk day to day about health subjects and heart disease and how to have good mental health, we talked about an appreciation of what's truly beautiful using nature. And then I asked the question, I asked them all, I said, you know, having gained an insight into what real beauty is, who is the most beautiful person in this little group today? And they all looked at that lady with the paralyzed face. She started beaming. Well, half her face started beaming. Because they'd gotten the lesson that the outside doesn't matter. And you think about another more personal lesson. If the relationship is based on the outside, and as we age, and my dear friends, we all age, we all get older. We get wrinkles, we get white hair, we show signs of, my little brother calls it olditis. You no longer are the fit and the fiddle 20-year-old that can climb mountains and swim mountain streams. You begin to slow down. Some people go through this midlife crisis. People have a realization that their strongest years are behind them. And if that relationship is based on the physical, the external, then as you age, sometimes the relationship can suffer. But if that relationship is based on internal, it's one heart joined to another, as the years pass, things get better. You get closer. The love deepens. I have that in my marriage. Now, it didn't start out that way. I think Darlene and I both were kind of focused on the outside. We were secular thinkers. But as we began to study the Bible and we developed a Christian perspective, that outside we by God's grace, we lost sight of. And as I look at my wife today, she's more beautiful than she's ever been before. She's the most beautiful woman on the earth. And she may have a wrinkle here, but that's a sign, a signet, an emblem of being faithful as she washes the dishes at the sink, as she cooks and puts the good food on the table for me, as she goes out into the garden and labors with these blueberry plants and these blackberry plants. She's working very hard, so she's got some calluses on her hands. She has a few wrinkles in her face. These are all trophies. These are all emblems of a job well done by my wife, and I appreciate her. And as we get older, the bonds of love are growing even greater, and you can't have that if you're an outward thinker. True beauty is the inward heart. So may the Lord bless you with eyesight that sees past the outside and can see the inner beauty of people. May God give us all this gift, 2 Corinthians 5:7, of walking, living, seeing by faith and not by sight. Have a nice evening, my friends.